Garrett's mother. What is this, Angry Parents' Day? Oh, all right, send her in. Mrs. Garrett, come in. I'm Seymour Kaufman. Make yourself comfortable. Now then, what can I do for you?
I hope I'm not interrupting coming here like this.
It's perfectly all right.
Well, I hate to make a nuisance of myself.
No, go right ahead.
My family, we've always been so close-knit. My husband's a doctor, and he's very busy, but he always had time for Grady. I promised myself I wasn't going to cry.
I'm glad you made that promise.
I never thought anything could come between them. But lately our home's turned into a battlefield, and they fight about everything. War, peace, hair, clothes, money. It's terrible.
Well, revolting against parents is normal adolescent behavior, Mrs. Garrett.
Every day you read about unhappy children running away from home. I'm frightened, Mr. Kaufman.
Well, would you like me to speak to Grady?
Oh, no, not to Grady. I want you to speak to the one who's responsible.
I don't understand.
To the person who's been putting all these crazy ideas in Grady's head. Mr. Kaufman, please, what does Mr. Dixon teach in that class?
What are we talking about? Isn't the law always just?
I read about this guy who was in jail 14 years and he was innocent.
I think I know him.
I still think it's changing for the better. Like in the olden times, you could get your hand cut off for just stealing a piece of bread.
Yeah, but even today, the laws are different for different people.
Can you back that statement up with some facts, Grady?
Sure. A lot more poor people who can't afford good lawyers go to the electric chair than rich guys.
Okay, let's say, for instance, that that is true, and that there are certain times the law is applied unjustly. What can we do about it?
Well, if you can't change the law, break it. Even if you have to pay the penalty. Like Henry Thoreau. He was against the war and slavery and ended up in jail because of it. And that was over 100 years ago.
Is that right, Mr. Dixon? A guy like that was alive in those days?
Right. Your history book is full of people who fought for what they believed was right.
Didn't Thoreau love nature? And wasn't he against poisoning water and destroying wildlife and all that?
That was then. Who cares about that stuff today?
You'd be surprised. I got an idea. Tomorrow, the city has planned to cut the trees down on my street. They've decided to widen it to help traffic. Now, what I want you to do is to read up on Mr. Thoreau, and tomorrow we'll discuss what he would have done if he were alive today and living on my street.
I know what he would have done.
Okay, Grady. We'll discuss it tomorrow.
I don't want to discuss it. I'm not going to medical school, and that's it.
He's not going to medical school. Did you hear that? He's not going to medical school.
On the subject of medical school, I met Louise Brophy today. Her brother's studying to be a nurse.
Why, may I ask, have you suddenly decided against going to medical school?
Can you imagine that? A boy wanting to be a nurse? Pickle beets, dear?
I'm talking, or rather, I'm trying to talk to our son.
Your father's trying to talk to you, dear.
Uh-huh.
Grady, I'm about to lose my temper.
Is that supposed to be something new?
Oh, dear, the chops are too well done again. I just can't get used to an electric range.
Grace, please. I want to ask Grady a few questions.
There's no reason to shout.
Your father didn't shout.
And if I want to shout, I will shout. I don't need his permission to shout in my own home. Now, why aren't you going to go to medical school?
Because I want to be a teacher.
I see, a teacher. Do you know what teachers earn?
Whatever it is, he earns it.
Grady, are you suggesting that a doctor doesn't earn his money?
You know, there's a lot more to life than making money. There's caring about the next guy.
And you think doctors don't care? Where do you get ideas like that anyway? What are you reading? Thoreau. That character went off and lived in the woods.
Mr. Dixon says it's men like Thoreau.
And I don't want to hear what Mr. Dixon has to say about it. I've heard enough of that Mr. Dixon in this household to last me a lifetime.
Yeah? Well, Mr. Dixon is one person who cares about what's really important. people. I can't. Oh, what did you?
Grady!
Charles.
Is that Dixon?
Oh, Paul, great game yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon.
Pete,
Running right around.
Do you have a class?
yes.
I'll walk with you.
What's wrong?
Why must something be wrong? Do I only speak to you when something is wrong? All right, something is wrong. Listen, you have a Grady Garrett in your next class. What kind of a boy is he?
Oh, nice. Very bright. A little excited, but why?
Both his parents have spoken to me. They say he's a terror at home, that he suddenly hates his father, and that you are the cause of it.
Me?
Yes, they say what you teach in class has turned Grady against him.
Do you believe that?
No, of course not. But I thought I'd better tell you about it because Dr. Garrett is threatening to make trouble for you with his friends on the school board.
Look, Mr. Kaufman, all I try to do is get my kids to think for themselves and stand on their own 2 feet. But what I can't buy is their parents not allowing the kids to think for themselves.
Okay, but just be careful. Because if Dr. Garrett does decide to start any trouble, I want to make sure he's got nothing that he can build a case on.
I'm clean, officer. Honest. Now what's wrong?
I don't know. Maybe I should, to choose the expression, see a doctor.
That was the second bell.
That's right.
It's not a holiday, is it?
You think I'd be here if it was?
They're not to...
What's going on? Where's everybody?
Oh, I was wondering the same thing.
Jason? Do you know where everybody is?
They went down to your street to demonstrate.
Demonstrate?
Demonstrate?
Yeah, against them knocking over your trees.
My trees? Do you know where everybody is?
They went down to...
Why didn't you go?
I ain't getting busted over no trees. In my neighborhood, we get along fine without them.
Well, I guess I better get over there. Miss Johnson, take go.
Okay. Okay, now if you'll please turn your book to page 141.
Come on now, I don't want to have to book you kids.
We're ready and willing to be arrested for what we believe.
Swell, swell. Then why don't you all just go home, huh?
When you promise not to tear down these beautiful trees.
Oh, I'm not going to tear down these beautiful trees. They're going to tear down these beautiful trees. All I want you to do is let them do their job.
Don't you understand? People need trees in order to be happy.
Like, what's it going to be? You going to shift these kids or what? I'm going to just take it easy. You'll be able to get to work in a few minutes.
Over our dead bodies.
Oh, now, look, son, you... What are you doing, kid? Will you please get up like a gentleman?
Watch that police brutality, Sarge.
Now, get up, kid.
We're ready to testify, kid.
Now, look, son, why don't you just go home in peace? And we'll forget everything on either side, okay?
We're not going back on our commitment to the people of this street.
That's it, Sarge. Once they start talking commitment, we can be here all night.
Now, you keep this up, you know what I'm going to have to do, right? Now, toss you all in jail.
We're ready. Aren't we?
Swell, swell, but what about me? I've got 2 kids home your age. Last night was the first night they've talked to me in 4 months, since the last demonstration. They find out about this, who knows when they'll talk to me again.
Sorry.
That's it. Start working around them.
Okay. Okay, come on, everybody. Plan B. Make it quick.
All right. One more chance, and I take you all to jail.
Heck no, they don't go.
Heck no, they don't go. Heck no, they don't go. Heck no, they don't go.
That's it, Sarge. Once they start chanting.
All right, let's move them out. All right, that's it. We're taking you away.
Okay, okay. We'll come peacefully. Come on, gang!
Hey, easy, Dick.
Hey, don't crowd. There's plenty of room for everybody. All righty.
Hey, ladies first.
I want to witness.
Officer, why are those kids being arrested?
Oh, well, we're not going to book them. Just give them a ride down to the station house and let their parents pick them up.
Hey, there's Mr. Dixon!
Hey, Mr. Dixon! Hey, Mr. Dixon! Dixon, look at us! Wait, my old man about this.
One of them yours?
All of them.
I'm telling you, Miss Johnson, it sure was great doing something real good.
Yes, it was. But, I mean, you know you have to make up all the work you've missed.
Well, you should have seen my old man. This is the first time in his life he didn't know what to say.
And my mother actually screamed. She never does that. No, she could.
Do you know how my mother punished me? For dinner, she gave me bread and water.
She did?
Mr. Dixon's sure going to be proud of us. His name is Johnson.
Well, I don't know.
He sure did look surprised. You should have seen his face.
I can imagine.
I can't wait to hear what he says.
Yeah, well, let's take our seats. You know, Mr. Dixon said he'd just be a few minutes late.
All right, Mr. Dixon, I just wanted to tell you face to face that I'm going to use all my influence to see to it that you are removed from your teaching position here at Whitman High.
And, Doctor, I want to tell you that I'm going to use my influence to keep him right here.
Well, I haven't quite finished yet, Mr. Kaufman. I am also going to bring a civil suit against you for your responsibility for yesterday's incident in which my son was carted off to jail like a thief. I'm prepared to hear anything you have to say.
I think you've said it all, Doctor.
I must say, I expected better than that.
Well, then you're wrong.
Well, I think anybody who turns impressionable young children against their parents doesn't deserve to teach.
I couldn't agree more.
And I think it's downright criminal for a teacher to incite pupils to break the law.
So do I.
You do?
And I think it's downright criminal for parents to try to keep their kids from thinking for themselves.
Oh, just a minute.
I've got to be honest with you, Doctor. I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't even know what's on your mind. You worried about your son? Well, he's a great kid. He's bright, and he cares. So instead of fighting me, I think you'd be doing Grady a lot more good if you try to understand him.
I'll have you know that I was doing very well with Grady until you came along. Oh, this is ridiculous.
All right. Now, isn't there some way that we can get together?
I came here because I'm a reasonable, civilized man. And I thought I'd give Dixon a chance to offer me at least one reason why I shouldn't go ahead with my plans. Well, I could have saved myself the trouble.
You forgot one thing.
Did I?
You forgot to say you haven't heard the end of this.
All right, Dixon. You haven't heard the end of this.
Congratulations. You just broke rule number 1. You were honest with a parent.
Care what you said. We did what we thought was right, and that's all there is to it.
You don't have to yell.
Who's yelling?
What is it?
I'll find out when I get home.
It's just a cold supper. I hope you don't mind.
No, it's perfect.
I was late getting home. Kaufman cornered me as I was leaving.
What do you have to say? As if I didn't know.
He's worried, Pete.
Honey, Kaufman was born worried.
Well, I'm worried.
Let's forget it, okay? All I want is a nice, quiet dinner looking across the table at you.
Fine. Tell me what I look like when I'm this nervous.
I am doing the only thing I can do,
Which is?
which is to go on teaching the only way I know how.
Kaufman thinks you could have handled the doctor more diplomatically.
Do you think that I should have soft-talked Dr. Garrett?
No.
I just don't think you should have hard-talked him. I better get your supper. Just explain something to me, will you? Pete Dixon, how come you are always in trouble?
Honey, I'm just stuck with what I am.
Sometimes you sound just like a
What?
school teacher.
You know something?
Hmm?
It's about the nicest thing that you have ever said to me.
Oh, no, it's not.
Hi, Mr. Dixon.
Grady, what are you doing here?
I had to talk to you. I just had to.
What's wrong? What's on your mind?
I've finally done it.
Done what?
It's not all of a sudden either.
No.
I've given it a lot of thought.
I'm sure you have.
And all around,
Grady,
I've
what
decided
have
it's
you
for
done?
the best. I ran away from home.
Come on out.
My father and I had our last fight. I told him where to get off about his coming to school today.
Have you eaten?
He doesn't talk. All he does is shout and scream his old worn-out ideas. Gets personal, starts calling me names like immature, fuzzy-faced pipsqueak, stuff like that.
There's some glasses in the cupboard.
And I'm always calm and keep to the subject, like you tell us.
You say you never lose your temper,
Oh, I'm cool.
and you're always willing to discuss the subject calmly.
Absolutely.
And let's you and I discuss the possibility of your going home tonight.
What?
I think you should go home.
After everything I just told you?
You'd be a lot better off.
I can't figure you out. You met him? You know what he's like? You're telling me I should go back there?
That's right. And I can give you all the reasons why.
I'm not going home. How many times do I have to tell you I can't live in the same house with my father? He doesn't understand me. The second I open my mouth, he starts screaming. Oh, I was really going there for a second, wasn't I?
That's right. Loud and clear.
Oh, I sounded just like my father.
Don't call the police, honey. He's got to come home of his own free will. And he will. I guarantee it. He'll come walking through that door and it'll all be a lot of fuss about nothing. He's just trying to frighten us, Grace. He's trying to get back at me for that Dixon business. Dixon. Do you believe that a school teacher could cause all of this?
If I say something, Charles, will you promise not to get angry?
Of course. What is it?
Maybe it's not Mr. Dixon's fault.
Not his fault.
Please, Charles, you promised you wouldn't.
All right, all right. Go ahead.
Maybe it's us.
But it's only since he's been in that man's class that he's gotten so impossible, dear. You try to talk to him and he starts shouting.
Yes, but the fighting also started once Grady began coming home with ideas of his own.
Ideas? You call those half-baked notions of his ideas? Marriage is old-fashioned? How about that one? What about his sneering attitude toward every organization I belong? What's the matter, honey?
I don't care about any of that. I don't even care what Grady says about marriage. What I want is to keep my family together. We're losing our son, and all he can do is go on about how silly his ideas are. I don't have to agree with him. I love him.
Honey, I love him too. You know that. Why do you think I keep shouting all the time?
Well, he's only a boy. Can't we be more patient? Maybe Mr. Dixon's only treating him the way we should here in his own home.
Didn't I tell you he'd come back?
Charles.
Well,
I just want you to know, it's only because of Mr. Dixon that I'm here.
I see. Well, thank you.
Mr. Dixon, I'm Mrs. Garrett.
Hello, Mrs. Garrett. How are you?
Won't you please come in?
Yes, yes. Come in. Well, I don't know, Mr. Dixon. I guess I owe you an apology for what I said earlier today, and even more for what I've been thinking about you.
Oh, that's okay.
Well, please, come in. Who knows what's going on these days? Men walking around on the moon? I certainly don't know.
It's about time you found out.
Oh, I see. I get it. It's about time I found out. You think you've been right about everything and that I've been all wrong. You didn't hear me apologize just now, did you?
I heard you.
You don't listen to me, Grady. You don't hear a word I say. Anything anybody else tells you, you believe. But your own father and mother, who really
I'm tired of that
care...
stuff. I've had it.
Charles.
Grady. Grady, wait, please. I'm sorry for forgetting what's most important. That no matter how much we disagree, you and I love you very much. When you see what you believed in since you were a kid, being, well, you begin to wonder whether your own life had any meaning or not. And I guess it's natural to strike out at the person who's doing the changing. The young ones, you know. And who can be younger than your own son?
Dad, I guess it's easier to yell than to talk.
So, we'll talk. Okay? We'll talk plenty.
Would you like some coffee?
I'd love some. Listen, I'm on my way to Kaufman's office.
You remember last night after you left me?
Yes.
I phoned you at home.
So?
You weren't there.
Right.
Where were you?
Out. Suspicious?
You might call it that.
Pete, come in, come in. Liz, you too. Oh, boy, this Garrett business. I was on the phone all night with the supervisor.
Hey, wait a minute. Let me tell you about my evening.
Why, who were you with?
The doctor
Garrett?
and Grady.
What happened?
A meeting of the minds. I think everything's going to be all right.
Oh, boy. Wonderful. Isn't it strange? He sees a doctor and my headache goes away.
You know something? I feel a lot better myself.